address the challenges that have hindered Cambodia in the past. He hopes that creating a healthy, well educated, and moral public will help fulfill the kingdom's vision of becoming a high income country by 2050. Education Minister Hangtua Naron and Health Minister Chien Ra also contributed to the discussion. The government aims to upgrade the current low middle income country to a high middle income country by 2030 and become a high income country by 2050. To this end, the government has identified a number of key policy areas, including human resource development, health, agriculture, and social affairs. Cambodia is currently a low middle income country, which, according to the World Bank, means that the average annual income of a person is between $1,036 and $4,045. By 2030, Cambodia aims to bring the average income to between $4,000 and $12,500 per year. If it achieves its vision, the average income will be about $12,500 a year or more by 2050. Kristen Winters, EAC News. You're watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. U.S. Ambassador W. Patrick Murphy and Minister of Culture and Fine Arts, Boang Sakuna, presided over a signing ceremony today to grant another $450,000 towards preserving the 10th century Phnom Bakhang Temple in the Angkor Archaeological Park. EAC News reporter Anthony Ellis has the details.
Since 2004, the U.S. Department of State Ambassadors Fund for Cultural Preservation, or AFCP, has provided 8 grants totaling $4 million to the World Monuments Fund for the ongoing restoration and conservation of Phnom Bakhang. Ambassador Murphy noted that this was the largest AFCP grant awarded in the East Asia Pacific region this year. He emphasized that Phnom Bakhang Temple is a cultural treasure and also a top designation in Cambodia to experience awe-inspiring Angkor sunsets. Over the past 20 years, the United States has supported a wide range of projects in Phnom Bakhang Temple, including foundation repairs, stone conservation, waterproofing system installation, and the assemblies of the walls and terraces. The last grant will continue these efforts, and like previous grants in this series, it would also enable the WMF to train and employ local Cambodians to take part in this and other cultural heritage restoration effects. The AFCP was established to help preserve significant cultural heritage sites around the world. Their grants have provided $6 million to Cambodia since 2001 to help the kingdom preserve its ancient cultural heritage, including the UNESCO World Heritage Site at Previer Temple, among other important locations. Anthony Ellis, EAC News.
You're watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. As schools across the country began the 2023 through 24 school year today, Prime Minister Hun Manet announced the launch of a Clean School campaign and the inclusion of morality and ethics as part of the curriculum. EAC News reporter Anthony Ellis has more.
The Clean School competition is part of the Ministry of Education's larger effort to make schools a model of standards as the country deals with the waste management issues. In September, the Ministry of Environment debuted its No Plastics campaign, which aims to educate students and the public on overall effects of plastic waste. The Prime Minister said his administration's policies is aimed to make school a highly effective public service entity with good governance that is accountable for people and communities. The first phase of the government's Pentagon strategy focus on strengthening on quality of education, sports, science and technology, and improving the quality of education with a focus on K-12. The Prime Minister is also calling on moral education to be a core subject for exams. He said that students will be rated on a scale of 80% knowledge, 10% skills, and 10% on morality and ethics. Under the policy of partnership between the state and the community for education, the government wants to strengthen school governance, review and revise curricula and extracurricular activities, and improve students' health, knowledge, discipline, ethics, and attitudes. Anthony Ellis, EAC News.
You're watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. Prime Minister Hun Manet gave a speech at the groundbreaking for the construction of a new dam in Koh Kong today. He used his time to discuss Cambodia's access to electricity, his feelings on being called a dictator, and harm reduction on the environment during Cambodia's rapid development. Plans for a hydropower project along the Mekong River have been discussed since 2007, but they have repeatedly been scrapped due to the potential effects such a project could have, especially on people's livelihoods and the endangered wildlife in the area. The Stung Treng stretch of the river is particularly precious, as it is home to the critically endangered Irrawaddy dolphin, which numbers under 100 individuals. The Prime Minister reassured the public that he will continue the policy of the previous administration by not building dams along the Mekong River. The government announced a 10-year ban on damming the Mekong's main stream in 2020. The Prime Minister also ordered the Ministry of Mines and Energy to suspend all projects for the construction of coal-fired power plants, in addition to shutting down existing coal-fired powered plants as soon as possible. He revealed that he had rejected plans to build a coal-fired power plant in Koh Kong province and had asked the company to build a natural gas power plant instead. He called the measures Cambodia's commitment to reducing global warming and climate change. The Prime Minister also echoed his father's platform of peace at any cost. However, he departed from his father's stance on the word dictator, which former Prime Minister Hun Sen vocally railed against whenever the word was used against him. Prime Minister Hun Manet said that he is willing to be painted as a dictator, if that's what it takes to protect the peace. Kristen Winters, EAC News. You're watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. Prime Minister Hun Manet presided over the groundbreaking for construction on the Stung Tatai Dam in Koh Kong today, where he spoke about the nation's power needs and promised to protect the Mekong River in the process. EAC News reporter Anthony Ellis has more.
During his speech, the Prime Minister said that he had ordered the Ministry of Mines and Energy to connect the entire country to the electric grid by 2030. He said that 98% of Cambodia is currently connected to the grid, while 2% of the rural population still does not have access to electricity. The Prime Minister reminded the crowd that in 1998, Cambodia could only supply 150 megawatts of electricity to the people, while now Cambodia has the capacity to supply more than 4,000 megawatts throughout the country. He also called the Electric Authority to facilitate payment services in addition to providing more favourable and reduced electricity prices to the citizens. He confirmed that the government has set aside a budget of $100 million to ensure the price of electricity does not increase. He noted that the price is going up at countries around the world, but the government is willing to spend money to keep the cost of electricity low for Cambodia. He claimed that the government's purpose is to help the people with their struggles and to maintain the balance of development and economic stability for the country. He also highlighted the government's decision to reduce electric prices for the agricultural sector of the last few months and said he plans to further reduce the rates for tourism sector. Anthony Ellis, EAC News.
You're watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. Former Prime Minister Hun Sen took to Telegram to announce that he will be supporting an impoverished student with disabled parents who scored an A on his high school diploma exam. EAC News reporter Anthony Ellis has the details.
While a majority of 73% of students that passed the exam received a D or an E, Aun Ponet was one of the only 2% of students who managed to score an A on his difficult diploma exam this month. Ponet truly overcome the odds as he lives in a poverty in Kampot province with his disabled parents. As a reward for his hard work, the former Prime Minister said that he will pay off Ponet's family's debt and support them with 1 million reals per month, equivalent to about $244. He also promised to have a small house constructed for the family and pledged to provide a motorcycle so that Ponet can attend his studies at the university in Phnom Penh when he enrolls. Minister of Interior, Saw Saka, also donated 2 million reals to the exceptional student, along with an additional motorcycle that will help his siblings. Anthony Ellis, EAC News.
You're watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. Cambodia is celebrating 7 years of its treasured Chapay Dom Vang on the UNESCO Intangible Culture Heritage List this week, since being inscribed at a conference in Ethiopia on November 30th, 2016. EAC News reporter Anthony Ellis has more.
Today, Prime Minister Hun Manet posted on his social media celebrating the recognition of the musical tradition as an inviolable treasure of Cambodia's cultural history. According to UNESCO, Chapay Dom Vang is a Cambodian musical traditionally closely associated with the life customs and beliefs of the Cambodian people. It features a 2 or 4 string lute called the champai, according by the singing that often tells stories and poems. The styles can range from educational to social commentary and satire, which requires the musical to have the wit, improvisation and storytelling skills. The tradition was nearly erased by the Khmer Rouge, but a few masters of the art still remain. In 2021, Cambodian hip-hop star Vanda featured champai master Kong Nay in his hit Time to Rise, with over 117 million views on YouTube alone. The song has brought Cambodia's culture heritage across the globe to a new generation. Along with 3 temples inscribed as the heritage sites by UNESCO, Cambodia has 6 intangible culture items inscribed, including Khmer Shadow Theatre and the Royal Ballet. Anthony Ellis, EAC News.
You're watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. For the first time in 4 years, Phnom Penh put on a full celebration of the annual Water Festival, where dragon boats from each province race to gain glory for their hometowns. Prime Minister Hun Manet expressed his appreciation for the collaborative efforts that made the massive event possible. EAC News reporter Anthony Ellis has the story.
Millions of people descended on the capital city for the 3-day celebration that included boat races, floating lanterns, and boats decorated with lights at night. People also made offerings to the moon for the change in weather and a plentiful harvest. Prime Minister Hun Manet praised the organisation committee of the Phnom Penh City Hall and all the relevant ministries and institutions for the cooperation in organising a smooth, safe and joyous water festival for the first time in 4 years. The Prime Minister and the First Lady were among many to celebrate the festivities, along with King Norodom Sihamoni, who presided over the opening and closing of the boat races. The Prime Minister commended the racing committee and the athletes involved in the boat race for working hard to produce a race that adhered to the spirit of solidarity and mutual respect and made the event an overall success. He also thanked the ministries, institutions and private companies for participating in the huge event. While millions of people attended the large water festival celebration in Phnom Penh, celebrations attracted domestic and foreign tourists across the country, giving hope to the arrival of the Cambodian tourism. Government spokesperson Pen Bonner interpreted the festivities successful and a clear evidence that Prime Minister Hun Manet's leadership guarantees peace and social, political and economic stability established by his father, former Prime Minister Hun Sen. Anthony Ellis, EAC News.
You're watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. Today marks the 1-year anniversary of the inclusion of Cambodia's Bokata martial arts style being inscribed on the UNESCO Intangible Heritage List for embodying the kingdom's social, cultural, and religious values. Its recognition as a vital part of Cambodian culture has led to a more prominent position in the minds of locals and the international community. Bokata is a traditional Khmer martial art that has been deeply rooted in Cambodian society for centuries and has survived to this day despite the odds. While the ancient style is depicted on the walls of Angkor temples, the Khmer Rouge era nearly erased the art's history. Luckily, a few brave Bokata masters were able to hold on to the style and pass it on to the next generation. Since being inscribed on the UNESCO list, Bokata has only gained in popularity, highlighted by the 2018 documentary Surviving Bokata, which saw its first national theater release this year. Cambodia has 6 pieces of intangible heritage on UNESCO's list, along with 3 physical sites, including Angkor Wat, Preah Vihear, and Sambor Praikuk temples. Kristen Winters, EAC News. You're watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. As of this morning, Cambodia ranks 3rd out of 35 participating countries in the 7th Vovinam World Championships in Ho Chi Minh. So far, Cambodian athletes have garnered 17 medals at the competition, 5 gold, 3 silver, and 9 bronze. EAC News reporter Anthony Ellis has more.
The native Vietnamese fighting style began as a self-defense method in the 1930s, but has since crossed international borders, with Vovinam training centers being established across the world. The 2023 World Championship being held from November 22nd to 30th, with more than 650 athletes from 35 countries are competing for 44 sets of medals. 3 gold medals for Cambodia went to Paul Chonsme in the women's singles, Chuck Sommerly in the world's 60 Ks, category and four-man team, the Swordsmen, yesterday. Prime Minister Hun Manet congratulated the Cambodian Vovinam athletes for their success. President of the Cambodian Vovinam Federation, Ul Vatana, emphasised that winning 17 medals and placing third in the 2023 World Championships shows the potential of Vovinam in Cambodia. This year, Cambodian athletes brought home the most medals in the category during the 2023 Southeast Asian Games. Anthony Ellis, EAC News.
You're watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. The Cambodian Human Rights Committee, or CHRC, says the human rights situation in the nation's prison system is improving. The committee conducted its own assessment and said that conditions regarding diet, vocational training, medical care, and access to exercise, religious freedom, and books are all in accordance with the law and ensure prisoners' human rights. EAC News reporter Anthony Ellis has more.
CHRC Chairman Keo Ramis noted that the improvements while leading the delegations to meet the General Department of Prisons today at the Correctional Centre No. 2. While there, officials held a talk on cooperation and monitoring of human rights situation in prisons. The purpose of the visit was said to be an inspection of the current conditions for detainees, especially pregnant women and children who live in the facility with their incarcerated mothers. The CHRC and the Prisons Department said they would continue to work together to address issues to improve the human rights situations in prisons. To this end, the CHRC has placed complaint boxes in prisons and correctional centres to encourage reports of human rights violations. The department claimed the installation of the boxes reflected its own strong will, transparency and integrity to regards the prison's management. The CHRC thanked the Director General of Prison Department and the Capital Provisional Correctional Centres for their close cooperation in protecting the rights and freedoms of their detainees. According to the UN Human Rights Council report issued in 2021, Cambodia's prisons are at 343% capacity, causing what Amnesty International has called a ticking time bomb. The report also said that the prisons lack of beds, drinking water and fresh air. Anthony Ellis, EAC News.
You're watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. The Cambodia Development Resource Institute hosted a conference today entitled Cambodia Vision 2030 and Beyond, Charting a Path for Resilient, Sustainable, and Inclusive Prosperity. Prime Minister Hun Manet presided over the conference, where he detailed his administration's economic goals. EAC News reporter Anthony Ellis has the story.
The Prime Minister said, with the focus of the current priority policies and the implementation of measures set out in the past, he expects the Cambodian economy to grow by 5.6% this year. He expects a growth rate of 6.6% for 2024. While he hides high hopes, he also mentioned the possible pitfalls that could deter the government from the economic goals. Over the last 20 years, Cambodia has achieved strong and sustainable economic growth at an average rate of 7% per year. Cambodia thus achieved a low middle income status in 2015. Meanwhile, trade volume via domestic production has increased nearly tenfold from 3.1 billion in 1998 to 29.6 billion in 2022. The Prime Minister also said that the poverty rate has fallen below 10% before the COVID-19 crisis. He said with the social conflict is minimising, the economic structure has shifted from the traditional agricultural economy to a value-added industry and service economy. He reminded the crowd about his father win-win policy in 1998, when former Prime Minister Hun Sen allowed Khmer Rouge defectors to join the government. Prime Minister Hun Manet said that he built a strong economic base for development in the market economy system. He then laid out his administration's 5 priorities, including international trade, foreign investment for infrastructure, strengthening existing infrastructure, developing human capital, and institutional reforms in the political, economic and financial systems. Anthony Ellis, EAC News.
You're watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. The National Bank of Cambodia signed memorandums of understanding with China's central bank to enhance confidence, security, efficiency, stability, and inclusion in the financial sector. On Tuesday, People's Bank of China Governor Pan Gongsheng and NBC Governor Chia Serai presided over the ceremony in Beijing and signed 2 memorandums. The first MOU focuses on cooperation in financial innovation and payment systems to enhance the security and efficiency of cross-border payment transactions between Cambodia and China, and to promote innovation and the adoption of financial services technology. The second MOU aims to strengthen the capabilities of the Cambodian banking sector to better serve the increasing bilateral trade, investments, and financial flows between China and Cambodia. By innovating financial products and services offered by Cambodian banks to Chinese investors, the MOUs hope to enhance Cambodia's competitiveness and attractiveness as an investment destination. Kristen Winters, EAC News. You're watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. The World Economic Forum is an independent NGO that engages political, business, cultural, and other leaders of society to shape global, regional, and industry agendas by acting as a mediator. Yesterday, Prime Minister Hun Manet welcomed WEF Asia-Pacific Director Jo Uk Lee to the Peace Palace. EAC News reporter Anthony Ellis has the story.
Jo Uk Lee thanked the Prime Minister for taking time to allow him and the delegation to pay a courtesy call and brought greetings from the WEF founder, Klaus Schwab, who also said that he has always valued Cambodia and has mentioned the kingdom's potential in the meetings with representatives from countries around the world. He also briefed the Prime Minister on the upcoming 2024 World Economic Forum to be held in Davos, Switzerland, under the theme Rebuilding Confidence. The forum will focus on 4 pillars: maintaining security and cooperation in the fragment world, developing and creating jobs for the new era, the using of artificial intelligence as a driving force for the economic and social development, and launching a long-term strategy for climate, nature and energy with the participation of more than 2,000 institutions from around the world. The Prime Minister thanked the WEF for cooperating with the Cambodian government in the past, including co-hosting the WEF meeting for the ASEAN in 2017. He also praised the important role of the WEF for bringing communications between the government and the private sector, resulting in the new governmental policies and incentives related to the business sector. The Prime Minister highlighted his continued support for the WEF meetings that began under the previous administration. He also thanked the WEF for the invitation to attend the 2024 forum in Switzerland. Anthony Ellis, EAC News.
តើលោកអ្នកចិត្តរៀបអាពាហ៍ពិពាហ៍មែនទេហើយពិបាករកក្រុមហ៊ុនថតវីដេអូផ្សាយផ្ទាល់ដែលមានគុណភាពមែនទេអស់កង្វល់ Ratika ជាក្រុមហ៊ុនទទួលស្គាល់លំដាប់អន្តរជាតិលើសេវាកម្មថតផ្សាយផ្ទាល់គ្រប់កម្មវិធីកម្រិត 4K ដំបូងបង្អស់នៅកម្ពុជា Ratika ប្រើប្រាស់ឧបករណ៍ទំនើបម៉ាកល្បីៗធានាគុណភាពការផលិតតាមបច្ចេកវិទ្យាទាន់សម័យ Ratika នឹងជួយធ្វើឲ្យកម្មវិធីលោកអ្នកកាន់តែមានភាពអស្ចារ្យលោកអ្នកនឹងបានឃើញរាល់សកម្មភាពក្នុងពិធីទៅលើកញ្ចក់ទូរទស្សន៍ទំហំធំកម្រិត 4K និងការបញ្ចាំងលើផ្ទាំងក្រណាត់សព្រមទាំង LED ដែលមានរូបភាពច្បាស់ត្រជាក់ភ្នែកសូមអញ្ជើញកក់ពីឥឡូវនេះតាមរយៈលេខទូរស័ព្ទ 012 823 848 017 838 889 និង 016 823